Okay, we're about to dive into the world of a creature that weighs less than a paperclip, but holds up a massive part of our world. We're talking about the honeybee, and trust me, their secret life is way more mind-blowing than you could ever imagine.
Just for a second, picture this. You walk into the grocery store, and the produce aisle is, well, it's half empty. The apples are gone. The almonds, the strawberries, even your morning coffee is getting hard to find. It sounds like a bad movie plot, right? But this isn't science fiction. This is a very real possibility, and it's tied directly to our tiny subject.
And there's the hook. 1/3. 1 out of every 3 bites of food you eat, you can thank a bee for. Without them, our entire global food system would be in serious, serious trouble. But you know what? Pollination is just scratching the surface. To really get it, we have to go inside the hive.
First thing you have to understand is that a honeybee colony isn't just a big collection of bugs. No, scientists call it a superorganism. It's like a single, living, breathing entity where every bee is just one small part of a much, much bigger whole. Think about that. That's the population of a small city, all crammed into one box. But here's the crazy part. There's no mayor, no city council, no one is in charge. Instead, every single bee just knows its job, and they do it perfectly for the good of everyone else. It's incredible. Worker bees actually have a set career path, and their promotions are based entirely on how old they are. You start out as a janitor cleaning the hive. Then you get promoted to the nursery, feeding the babies. From there, it's construction and security before you finally graduate to the most dangerous and most important job of all, flying out into the big, wide world as a forager.
So how do they coordinate all this with no boss? It's through something called swarm intelligence. It's this amazing process where thousands of tiny brains all communicate and collaborate to make really complex decisions for the group. This system is so unbelievably efficient that our own engineers are studying it to build smarter AI and better robots. So if the hive is one giant superorganism, then each individual bee is like a tiny little genius. I'm telling you, the abilities packed into their brains, which are about the size of a sesame seed, are basically superpowers. Let's start with how they talk to each other. Yeah, forget buzzing. When a bee finds a fantastic patch of flowers, she doesn't just fly back home all excited. No. She returns to the hive and performs a very specific, information-packed dance for her sisters. And this isn't just some random movement. It's literally a map. The angle of her body tells the other bees which direction to fly in relation to the sun. The longer she does the waggle part of the dance, the farther away the flowers are. And the more pumped up her dance is, the better the food is. It's an entire GPS system, communicated through dance. Let that sink in for a second. Celestial navigation. They even adjust the angle of their dance throughout the day to account for the sun moving across the sky. This discovery was so groundbreaking, it won Carl von Frisch the Nobel Prize for figuring out what bees were talking about. And their genius doesn't stop at navigation. Oh no, the honeycomb itself is a flat-out masterpiece of engineering. For centuries, human mathematicians debated what the most efficient shape was for tiling a surface with no gaps. It's a famous problem called the honeycomb conjecture, and we only managed to prove it in 1999. The bees? They figured it out millions of years ago. And they don't just know the theory. Their execution is perfect. They literally warm up wax with their bodies and sculpt it into flawless hexagons with angles of exactly 120 degrees every single time. This perfect shape lets them store the absolute maximum amount of honey using the absolute minimum amount of wax. Pure efficiency. Now, after all that work, all that incredible genius, what's the payoff? In its entire life, a single worker bee will produce just 1/12 of a teaspoon of honey. That's it. An impossibly small amount. And to make that one little drop of honey, that one bee has to visit around 2,000 individual flowers. So think about that jar of honey in your pantry. That single jar represents the entire life's work of thousands of bees, flying a collective distance that's equal to circling the entire planet 3 times. It's just staggering. And if you're not blown away yet, this should do it. Researchers have successfully trained bees to recognize and remember different human faces. This proves that you don't need a big, complex brain for sophisticated pattern recognition, which is yet another reason scientists are so obsessed with them for developing more efficient AI.
Okay, so we've established that bees are brilliant. They're essential. They're basically running the planet for us behind the scenes. But, and this is a really big but, for all their intelligence, these incredible creatures are in very, very serious trouble.
There's this mysterious thing happening that scientists have called colony collapse disorder. What happens is the worker bees, the foragers, just vanish. They fly off in the morning to find food, and they just never come back, leaving the queen and the young bees behind to slowly perish. It's heartbreaking.
So what's causing it? Well, it's not just one thing. It's more like a perfect storm of modern problems. You've got pesticides that can mess with their internal GPS systems. There's habitat loss, which is like closing down all their grocery stores. Climate change is messing up their life cycles. And then you have these horrible parasites, like the varroa mite, that just weaken the whole colony. Now, that all sounds pretty grim, I know. But here's the good news. We can actually be part of the solution, and it can start right in our own backyards. Planting flowers that bees love, ditching the harsh pesticides in your garden, and buying honey from local, sustainable beekeepers. These are all small things that, when we all do them, can have a huge, positive impact.
So the next time you see a honeybee buzzing around, I really hope you'll see it a little differently. You're not just looking at a bug. You're looking at a master navigator, a brilliant engineer, and a tiny mathematician. And when you hear that gentle buzz, remember what you're really hearing. It's the sound of our planet's ecosystem hard at work.